Doing that really, do we? There we go.
Cool. So I just popped it on to record for those who are going to be watching the recording today. I think there's quite a few of you watching on the recording. You're going to need a ball of some sort. These are like the ones that I sent in the Facebook group. They're a little bit smaller. You can sometimes get ones with ridges like this or smooth ones. I'm going to use the smooth one today because my feet are really sensitive. But these are obviously really, really good. If you don't have one of these smaller balls, a tennis ball works fine. I would avoid a golf ball because they're really too hard. You're also going to need a strap, and then you're going to need a block. Alrighty, so you guys, I'm going to pop you on mute, but if you need to shout at me for any reason at all, just give me a holler. Okay, so we're going to start standing. And we're going to do a little bit of myofascial release. So we're going to work the feet, then we're going to work the bum, then we're going to play around with some balances. So take your ball onto the floor and just start with one foot. And I want you very lightly to just start to move the ball around, like very lightly. So there's no pressure. And I just want you to pay attention to the sensations, okay? So not applying any pressure, just rolling the ball around. And see if you can get the ball to go to kind of every part of the foot. And I want you to also notice what's happening in this hip, okay? So remember what I was saying the other day, are we popping that hip out? So keep this hip stable, keep squeezing those glutes in. You're gonna feel this as well in that stabilizing leg. And don't worry if the ball goes flying, okay? That's really normal. Get the ball to kind of connect to all the toes, the ball of the foot, the arches of the foot, heel, and then just switch, again, just really lightly, okay? And if your balance is really off, you can stand at a wall, okay? So don't worry, if you even find this challenging, then, you know, use a wall, use something to help you. Again, watch out for this hip, keep it nice and active. You want to feel this leg working. Avoid locking out that knee. Remember what I was saying earlier on that Tuesday class, we don't want to be locking out those knee joints. We're really just kind of giving our feet loads of information right now. All of these sensations, and it should feel nice, okay? We don't often give our feet any kind of love. Good, okay, you're gonna swap back to the other foot. Now, instead of being super light, I do now want you to apply some pressure. Okay, so again, watching out for this hip. You don't have to move fast, you can move slow. But start to apply some pressure. The ball might go ping, flying away. That's okay, just go chase after it. But just start to apply some pressure. Just notice if there's anywhere that feels more sensitive, less sensitive. Just moving around. Good, okay. And then take it to the other side. So we're just starting with a little bit of massage, applying a bit of pressure. So as you do that, we have 3 arches in our feet, okay? We have our medial arch, which is the inner arch, okay? Most people know about that arch. That's the most common one. You have your lateral arch, which is exactly mirroring the medial arch, but it's on the outer edge of the foot. A lot of people, that's quite flat, but it still exists. And then you have what's called a transverse arch, and that goes across from the big toe to the pinky toe, kind of like this across all the toes. And we have 33 joints in our feet as well, which is wild. Like for such a small portion of the body, it's got the most joints of anywhere out in the body. Okay, so let's switch back to the original foot, okay? And what you're gonna do is we're gonna work laterally along the foot. We're gonna start with the lateral arch, so the outer arch. And I just want you to start to work up and down the foot, okay? Applying quite a bit of pressure from the heel to the toes. And you're gonna slowly move towards the medial arch. It doesn't have to be like perfect science. Again, watching out that you're not like totally collapsing. Keeping that standing leg quite strong. And you might need to rearrange the ball if it's going too far forwards or too far back. But just working forwards and backwards, forwards and backwards, and seeing if you can get all the way into that medial arch. And then switch, starting with the lateral arch. And you might find that, you know, your dominant leg, when you're standing on your dominant leg, it's a lot easier to do this balancing. You might find that when you stand on your less dominant side, so if you're right-handed, if you're standing on your left leg, it might be a lot more difficult. But just know that even this action is helping to develop your balance. Wow, I'm a lot more sensitive on my left foot today. Good, okay, coming back to the other foot. We're now gonna work towards that transverse arch. So we're gonna go side to side. You're gonna start with your heel. So again, if you want to, you can hold onto a wall, just working side to side, working with the heel first. So any kind of, this is called myofascial release, and your fascia is this web, it's a white tissue, it's really sticky, and it can be really dry. It's not very vasculated, which means it doesn't really have a blood supply. And it is really clever though, it communicates through the whole body. And when we don't stretch, when we don't move enough, especially in certain parts of the body, the myofascia, the fascia can get really, really sticky and it makes us feel quite stiff. Notice how this feels moving from side to side when you get to the ball of your foot. And then see if you can move side to side into the like knuckles of the toes. So where the toe and the ball of the foot meet. It should feel like maybe a little bit weird, maybe good, maybe slightly sensitive. Good, and then switch. I'm going to use the wall again. So moving from the heel first, side to side. And again, it doesn't have to be fast, keeping a good amount of pressure. Wow, I can't believe how much more sensitive my left foot is today. I'd say generally the balls of our feet are kind of the least sensitive, and the heels. The arches can be quite sensitive because they often don't touch the floor. Just moving across that transverse arch. And then moving into those toes. Good, okay. So what we're gonna do now is work on the extension of the big toe. So I'm gonna show you here, but imagine my foot's on the floor. I'm gonna place the ball onto the floor and I'm going to take my big toe on it. So what you wanna work on is a 60 to 75% extension. Extension is going backwards. Okay, you might not get there. You might not be able to come that much into extension. So you just take the ball onto the floor and then press the toe. Right, and then you're just gonna, again, not like me, locking out the knee, keep the knee slightly bent. Maybe just take that weight forwards. And we'll hold for about 10 breaths on each side. I'm gonna do a little bit of myofascial release in all of the upcoming weeks, just because I think it's really important, especially when you're using a bunch of muscles you're not used to. And you can do this extension stretch with all of the toes. The most important is the big toe. The big toe is really our balancing toe. If the ball's too squishy, it can kind of crumble under the toe, and if the ball's too hard, it can feel way too intense. And then just switch to the other toe. So things like bunions, okay, where the toe is going out to the side, either in or out. If that is you, if you do have a bunion, try to straighten the toe. So literally grab the toe and try to straighten it, then come into this stretch. So this is really, really good for bunions, for lack of mobility with the toe. I'm wearing heels for far too long, badly made footwear. Couple more breaths. And if you can notice, I'm kind of pushing in and out. This is called dynamic stretching. I really enjoy dynamic stretching because I'm naturally not that flexible. So the coming in and out of the stretch lets my muscles and my stretch reflexes have a tiny break. And also I'm working into kind of that max range. So every time I'm pushing a little bit further than I did before, but I'm not kind of staying in that torture zone. I'm just popping in and then leaving.
Megan?
Yeah.
My toe actually goes almost vertical because I've spent many years walking around in stilettos and it's actually more comfortable there. But what can I do to correct that?
Well, I mean, it just means that you've got a lot of extension. I mean, the opposite of that would be standing like this.
Yeah, I find that really painful.
Yeah, so do I. So this is the counter to it. So some people will find this extremely difficult, and some people will find this extremely difficult. So
yeah,
if you're like, oh God, this is too intense, you could try with the other toes and see how it feels, or you could just work on the other things. But I think if you've got really deep extension, you don't need to worry about it. Okay, so we're gonna put the ball to the side now. We're not gonna need it the rest of the class, and we're gonna do some glute work. I said it was coming. So come down onto all fours. Now, when it comes to balance, it is the stabilizing leg that we want to strengthen. Okay, so what I mean by that is the standing leg, rather than the leg that's off the floor. Okay, and it is the glutes that help to stabilize the pelvis and stabilize that leg. So you won't feel this on the leg that's moving. You're going to feel this on the leg that's stable. Okay, and that's because those muscles are having to work to stay stable. It won't be too bad at the beginning, but it's going to get intense as we go. None of these movements are very difficult in any kind of capacity, but they're great at building that strength. So hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, and then you're going to tuck your right toe, slide that right toe behind you, have a nice little moment in your hamstring stretch. What you're going to want to do or make sure of is that those fingers are spread wide and then you're pressing through all of the fingers. And you're going to lift your right foot off the floor. It doesn't have to be as high as the bum. And then you're just going to slowly bring the knee to meet the left and then re-extend. Okay, for about the count of 2 in and out. So this is all we're going to do for maybe the next 5 or 6, moving nice and slow and controlled. Notice if you're tipping your weight a lot into the left hand, can you keep some of that weight in the right hand? And once we're moving, you really don't need to look at me. You want to be looking straight down, just beyond the fingers. You might get a butt cramp during this, so just feel free to kind of sit into a child's pose. That's a nice stretch. Okay, we're going to pick up the pace. So make sure you're slowing the knee down. You're not going beyond the knee. So out and in, out and in. Good. Keep it going for 3, 2, 1. Straight back. We're going to pulse here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, from here, take your toe towards the right corner of the mat, and then just glide it towards the left. So keep moving side to side. Imagine that your belly button is staying stable. So try not to take the side body into a curve. Just move from the hip. So the leg is just moving. Doesn't really matter how far the leg's going, but just move from the leg and keep the torso quite stable. So you're moving slow, nothing too fast. Keeping the belly button stable. Maybe already feeling it in the left butt. Good, okay, let's move a bit quicker. Side to side, side to side, side to side. 3 more, side, 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 all the way to the right. We're gonna pulse out that right corner, pulsing for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're going to come down onto your left forearm, up onto your right fingertips. Good. And then we're just going to come in towards that right armpit and out. Nice and slow, nothing fast. Doesn't matter how close you get. Good. We'll do this for 5. Nice and slow. 4, 3, 2, my left butt cheek, 1. Okay, let's pick up the pace. Out and in, out and in, 3, 2, 1. Good. Cross and over. Slow. Cross and over. Just moving to those 2 side corners. Not too much left here, guys. For 3, 2. Let's pick up the pace for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're going to slowly start to stack your right hip on top of your left. You can take your left toe out to the side or come onto the ball of the foot. Now, if you can see, my toes are going out to the side and the side of my foot is up to the sky. Then we're going to pulse here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you want to try this balance, come onto the tips of the fingers. See if you can lift your right hand off the floor. Don't worry if you flop out of it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hand comes down. Woo! Sit the butt back. Stretch those butt cheeks. Taking a little child's pose. So I have done that so many times, and every single time that I do it, it is a killer. Your butt isn't killing you, then there is lots more that I can teach you, but that should have felt quite intense on the left butt cheek. Okay, we don't want to be unbalanced with our bums, so bring yourself back up, finding tabletop. Taking a cat-cow if you need it. Spread the fingers, okay, nice and wide. Tuck the left toe, drag that left toe behind you. Take a moment, have a nice little hamstring stretch here before we get going. And then lifting that foot off the mat, and then just nice and slow, bringing the knee to meet the right, and then re-extend. Nice, just keep moving like this. You always want to be slightly drawing the navel in towards the spine, just protecting that lower back. So just to give you an example of that weird knee stuff that everyone's talking about, different joints and stuff making noise. Every time that I extend my leg here, my knee crunches and kind of pops a little bit. Doesn't hurt, but it's a weird thing that's happening. So always paying attention, you might have these weird noises. Pick up the pace now. But as long as it's not painful, you know, it's okay, but you can always talk to a proper medical bone specialist to make sure that nothing weird is going on that could be causing any kind of damage. Good, extend the leg. We're going to pulse here for 10, 9, 8, can already feel it in my right butt cheek, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slow it down, out to the left corner, over to the right. Notice if you're taking more weight into the right hand, can you equalize that between both? Keep the side body still, keep the torso still. You're just moving from that leg. Okay, so you're going to really feel the glute working rather than taking it into the rest of the body. Good, let's pick up the pace for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Out to the side, let's pulse for 10, 9, you're at the left side, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, oh God, 3, 2, 1. Down onto that right forearm. You can tuck the back toe if that feels better on the knee. And then slowly bring the knee towards that left armpit. Re-extend. Okay, nice and slow, nothing fast. Re-extend. 3, 2, 1. Nice and fast for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Extend. And we go out to the sides. Nice and slow to start. Again, keep the torso still. You'll feel this more in the glutes for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pick up the pace for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Let's go out to the side. Pulse for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stack the hip. Kick into the heel. Pulse here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Either stay here nice and still, maybe see if you can come onto the fingertips. Keep the gaze on one thing. It's not the easiest balance in the world. Bringing that left hand off the floor, hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hand comes down, knee comes down. Oh, bring that booty back. Oh, take in a couple breaths, stretching out the bum. Good. Alrighty, so when you're ready, taking your time, you're gonna come back up to standing. And hopefully, our bums are a bit more awake, a bit stronger, okay? And they're starting to understand what they need to do. They know that they need to work, they know that they need to stabilize, they know that they need to be nice and strong. So before we come into some balancing poses, I want us to strengthen the hips a little bit, okay? So just to remind you of those hip flexors, you've got your psoas, which connects at the lumbar spine. The psoas then wraps around to the front, goes down the inside of the groin and attaches into the lesser trochanter. That's the top of the femur bone. Okay, so that's one of your hip flexors. And then another big one is your rectus femoris. This is the big quadricep muscle, and it is a dual action muscle. So if you lift your leg, okay, the quadricep, the rectus femoris is working there. Also when you bend your knee. Okay, so this muscle is responsible for bending the knee and lifting the hip. So we want to strengthen these muscles, okay? So how do we do this? Well, let's start balancing on our right leg. Again, you could use the wall if you need to. So I want you to strengthen that standing leg, take the weight into it. Then I want you to imagine that your hip is like a suction cup and see if you can just lift your foot off the floor. Okay, just a little suction. Try not to kind of kick out the hip. Keep this nice and engaged. You might even keep your hand there. Let's just do 10 little lifts. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo! Switch to the other side. Okay, 10, 9, 8, and it might take a while to get that brain to understand what you're doing. 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Hands on the hips. Take a little hula hoop. Remember, this is a really nice one to take to just ease any kind of tension or cramping. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing again. Yeah, we're going to do the same thing again. Weight into the right leg. You're going to suction cup the left leg off the mat. And then I just want you to tilt forwards. Okay, and then rise back up. Switch to the other side. So your left leg is now on the floor. Lift the right knee, and then just tilt forwards. Hands can be on the hips. Foot is off the mat when you do that. Okay, try it one more time on each side. So standing on the right leg, suction the left leg. Slowly just start to tilt. Come back up. Switch to the other side. Good. Coming back up. Nice. So we're working towards some of these balances and training the hips to work. Watch me on this one. So I'm going to suction cup my leg up. I'm going to start to tip forwards, and then I'm going to swing my leg back. So I'm coming into warrior 3, but I'm doing it in stages. So I'll show you on the other side. I'll show you maybe half front. So I stand on my right leg, suction cup my left leg off the floor. I'm going to hinge forwards in my hips. Then I'm going to find that teeter-totter, and I'm going to start to send my leg behind me. Look at my toes. They're pointed down. They're not going out to the side. Keeping that line nice and strong. So let's give it a go. Start to stand on your right leg, hands on your hips. Pull that left leg off the floor. Hinge forwards in the hips first. Hands can be on the hips. And then just start to kick out that leg. And just see how long you can hold it. Now you can have a soft bend in that standing leg. Doesn't matter how far you go. Keep the gaze on the floor. Don't look at me. See if you can hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Place that foot back onto the floor. So don't think about coming into warrior three. Just think about it in stages. Take the weight into the left leg. Suction cup that right foot off the floor. Hinge into the hips. Then from here, all you're going to do is start to send that leg behind you, looking down and forwards. See if you can hold it. Doesn't matter how high the leg is for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Bring that foot back down. So it's this action. So now I'll just show you it quickly. If I want to come into warrior three, I'm doing all of that, but simultaneously. And I'm coming into that position. I'm still stabilizing, sucking my hip, hinging forwards and kicking my leg out, but I'm doing it all at the same time. I'm really thinking about moving from my pelvis. So give it a go. See if you can do it a little bit faster. You can try to maybe do it without thinking about it, but you might notice you wobble. So, with this balance, you might just be like, okay, stabilize. Suction cup the leg. Hips, kick out. Hold for a couple breaths, then switch. Don't look at me, I'm not even doing the pose. Keep the gaze forwards and down. Good. Try it maybe 2 times on each side. Think about those feet really suctioning into the floor, fully activating. And once you've done 2 on each side, I want you to do just a couple of these hula hoops. Whee! Just releasing that tension. Maybe do a couple one way, and then switch it up and do a couple the other way. Cool. Okay, so watching me first, we're now going to make ourselves work a little bit harder. Okay, so this first hip lift, it doesn't really have that high to lift. We're gonna stand on a block and we're gonna make the hip work a little bit harder. So just watch me first. Toes on the floor. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna suction my hip up and down, up and down. So they're like these press ups, but with the hip. So come to stand on your block. We'll do right foot first. Again, if you feel really wobbly, don't be scared. Use a wall, use something. So stand on the block and you'll have to touch your toe down, okay? And then suction that foot so that your foot is actually coming even higher than the block. Good. And then lower and lift. Lower and lift. Just do about 5 of these. Okay, you can bring the foot all the way down and you'll notice that your hip pops out. And then you can lift it all the way up. So you can do bending in the knee. I'll show you from the side. Or you can keep the legs straight. So you can lower all the way down, lift up, lower all the way down, lift up. Or you can keep the leg active, touch the toe down, and suck it up. Touch the toe down, suck it up. Okay? So doing about 5 on one side. And then switching, getting yourself nice and stable, and lower. And don't worry if this feels really weird, if you're like not really sure what you're doing. All of this stuff takes time, but even just balancing on one block is going to be challenging. I'm standing on cork blocks, so they're pretty darn tootin' hard, which means that the balance is actually quite easy. Cool, but I can like feel this in my hips really working. Let's do 5 more on each side. If you need the hula hoop or any kind of movement, do it. Getting yourself set up. And then just starting to strengthen the hips. This isn't really stuff that we do that often. Once you've done 5, switch to the other side. Woo. Don't be surprised if over the next couple days you really feel this kind of in the hips, in the butt. Nice, coming off of that block. Okay, so let's actually do some balancing. So we're gonna start standing, let's start with the right foot. Okay, the right foot, I think mostly everybody's right-handed, so it'll be a little bit easier. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to demo what you're doing, and then I'm not going to do the pose, and I'm going to verbally walk you through it. And the reason for that is I don't want you looking at the screen. So just watch what I'm going to do. All I'm going to do here, the sequence that we're going to do is I'm going to lift my knee. I'm going to grab my knee. Okay? I'm going to hold on to my knee with my opposite hand, take my other hand onto my hip, and maybe twist. Okay? Then from there, I'm going to come back to center, take my knee out to the side, and we're going to come into tree pose, foot on the floor or the calf muscle. That's the series of the balance. Okay? And we'll do it on each side. So if you want, turn away from the screen so that you're not even like engaged to look at me. Choose something to look at, okay? So I've got a little fleck on the wall. That's what I'm going to look at, and I'm going to focus on it. So come to stand on both legs. Feel the weight transfer into the right leg. Pull the right outer butt cheek in, and start to suction cup your left foot off the floor, just like we were just doing. Once the leg is suction cupped off the floor, start to bend the knee and see if you can reach for that foot. Okay? Not the foot, rather than knee. Good. Keep pulling your right butt cheek, the outer butt cheek in, or the right hip in. Good. Okay. Keep the gaze on that one thing. I want you to hold onto your knee with your right hand and slide your left hand to your hip. This might be where you start. You might even just be trying to hold on to that knee. Try not to lock out that right knee. Take an inhale. And if you can, start to turn your chest to the side. Keep the gaze on that dot or whatever it is you're looking at. And if you feel really brave, you might even bring that left hand behind you. Now don't worry, if you come out of the pose, just set yourself up, pull the leg off the floor, find that stretch again or that balance again. Good. From here, come back to center, and then take your right hand onto your hip, open your left knee out to the side, slide your left foot all the way down the leg so the toes are on the mat. Okay. From here, bring your hands to heart center, so your thumbs are at your sternum. Now, what's happening in that right leg? Are you shooting out the right hip? If so, pow, suck that right hip in. Good. Now, start to torque the right leg bone out to the right as you torque the left knee out to the left, squeezing that little walnut, 100-pound bill, whatever you need. Then just see if you can suction the toes into the side of the ankle. Not locking out that right knee, keeping that gaze on one thing. If you feel the desire to lift the foot into the calf muscle, sliding it up a little bit higher, go for it. Movement is okay. Okay, so if you do start to wobble, can you not give up right away? Can you bring yourself back to center? Really lock the gaze on that thing that you're looking at. Good. And then step that left foot down. Take some of those hula hoops. Okay, it's teaching the body and the mind how to do these things. All right, again, not looking at me. Come to stand, looking at that drishti point, okay? Generally, we want to be looking slightly down the nose and in front of us. Okay? That's the best drishti for this series of poses. So, start to strengthen the left leg. Pull the left butt cheek in, suck the right leg off the mat. When you feel ready, start to lift that knee. Okay? If you can't hold on to the knee, you might hold on to the thigh, or bring the hands kind of as close to the knee as you can get. And then from here, keeping that gaze on one thing, you're going to hold onto that knee with your left hand, and very slowly slide your right hand across until it meets your right hip. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, maybe turning your chest to the side wall. Don't worry if you wobble out. You feel brave, maybe that right hand comes behind, reaching towards the back. Just noticing what's happening, not locking out that left knee. And then very slowly come all the way back. You're going to start to open out your right knee to the side and bring the toes onto the floor. Okay? So you're standing on your left foot, right toes on the mat, hands to heart center, thumbs are pressing into the sternum. This is your breastbone. Now, pull the left glute mid and min in, so the hips coming in. Squeeze the walnut, torque the left leg out to the left, and the right knee out to the right. So you've got this Real stretch happening in the front of the groin. Look at one thing. If you feel brave, you can suck the toes off the mat. You can maybe slide the foot into the calf. You can maybe even bring those hands up. Slide the shoulders away from the ears. Good. And then wherever you are, just trying to find some stillness. As soon as the mind wanders, the body will wiggle and wobble. Good. Can you come out without just slamming the foot on the floor? So can you bring the hands back to heart center? Can you bring the knee to center? And can you bring the foot down? Good. Taking that little sway from side to side, that rotation in the hips. Good. Nice work, guys. Okay, one more little play with balance. We're not going to do anything, too crazy, but we're going to use our strap just because I want to demo this, because you can do a lot of really nice balance that is more advanced with a strap. So we're essentially going to be doing this, and then back to center, switching and twisting. But you're not going to be holding your toe. You're going to be using a strap. Okay, so it's a nice way to feel into a more progressive pose, but using something more accessible. So you're going to start standing on your right leg again. And I want you to reach down quite low for the strap. Okay, if you go up quite high, there's no challenge. It's just too easy. So reach a little bit lower. Take your right hand onto your right hip, then look forwards. Okay, try not to look at me. And then just start to rise the chest up. And as you do so, your foot will lift off the floor. Look at one thing. Okay? I am literally holding onto the strap with my leg out in front of me. If you're rounding the chest forwards, you need to release some of the tension on the strap. You need to be able to stand up nice and high. Good. So you can lift the leg a little higher, maybe tightening the strap, maybe not. Then take your right hand out to the side. And as the right hand comes out to the side, maybe see if you can bring your left leg out to the side. Doesn't matter how far, just play around with it. Don't worry if you wobble. Keep that gaze on one thing. Good. Coming back into it if you wobble out. Good. We're going to come back to center. Right hand is going to grab the strap. And you're going to see if you can bring your left hand behind you. Okay, so you're looking forwards, but left hand's going behind you. One day we might even look back to our left hand, but as soon as you move where you're looking, it becomes really challenging. Good. Come back with that left hand, and then bring that foot back onto the floor. Release the strap, pedal at the feet, whatever you need to do, and we'll give it a go on the other side. So this transition, I've got in the PDF for you. So this is a nice one to practice, and that you can do on your own. So you just need a strap with some persuasion. So strap is now going around the right foot. Reach nice and low. Left hand onto left hip. Look forwards, then lift. Just think about lifting the chest up. The foot will follow. Nice, finding your balance. Focus. Doesn't matter how high that leg is. Maybe taking that left hand out to the side. And then playing around, can you get that right foot to come out to the right? Doesn't matter how far. Focus and breathe. This is also going to be strengthening your hip flexors to literally keep that leg off the floor. Come back to center. Your left hand is now going to reach for that strap. And you're going to take your right hand onto your hip or behind you. Keep looking forwards. Good. If you wobble, come back in. You can also use a wall. There's no shame in using a wall. Good. Come back to center. Grab the strap in the right hand. And then slowly bring that foot back down. Whee! Nice. Let go of that strap. Little pedal of the feet. Little hula hoop if that feels good. Nice. Good job. Okay, let's get on to our bums. You've done enough balancing. So coming onto the bum, roll all the way onto the back, holding onto the knees, and just let the knees come away from each other as far as feels comfortable for you. Just feel the head, upper back, lower back, and hips pressing into the floor. And then take the hands to the outsides of the knees, draw the knees back together. Open the arms into T, so palms face up, elbows bend. And then slowly start to drop the knees to the right. Now, if your hips are really tight, your spine's really not that twisty, you can take a block underneath those knees that you can see good. And then let the left shoulder melt down. Left ear towards the shoulder. Really nice way to just decompress the spine. And then gently bring those knees back to center. And you're just going to flop them over to the other side. If you're using a block, just take the block with you. Let the knees flop. Let your right shoulder melt down. Bring your right ear towards your right shoulder. And just taking 5 or 6 deep breaths here. And then gently bring those knees back to center and just wrap your arms around the knees. Bring your forehead in towards them. Just give yourself a nice little hug, nice little squeeze for working so hard. And then slowly start to bring the spine back down. Letting the legs extend out in front of you. Right leg and left leg. Palms of the hands face up, finding Shavasana. Maybe slightly tucking the shoulders underneath us. If it feels better on the lower back to have the knees bent, then feel free to do that. And just let the eyes close. Let the jaw soften. Maybe taking a couple of deep breaths until you eventually begin to just drift away into your corpse pose. Start to deepen your breath again, keeping the body really heavy, really still, but just explore the rise and fall of the belly, and the push and pull of the chest. And then just start to wiggle in your fingers and toes, maybe gently rocking the back of the head from side to side. When you're ready, you're going to take a nice big stretch, interlacing the fingers, sending the hands behind you, flipping the palms, and then straightening those legs, taking a really big inhale here. Lengthen, 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 lengthen. And then just let the breath go. And then draw one knee and the other into the chest. Just taking a gentle rock from side to side. And then taking the hands under the knees, either rocking and rolling up to seated or rolling over, whatever's easiest for you. So just bringing yourself into a seated position. If you need to sit on a block, go for it. Letting the backs of the hands rest on the knees, lengthening the crown of the head up to the sky. And just closing the eyes for a moment. Just taking a moment to let go of any negativity, any frustration, and remind yourself that this is a journey. That every time you show up on your mat, you're learning something. Yes, you might stumble. Yes, you might wobble, but you're learning. You're teaching the muscles, you're teaching the cells of the body, you're teaching the mind. Inhaling, bring those hands high, and as the palms come to touch, take a moment to give yourself some gratitude. You're halfway there. Dropping the thumbs to the space between the brow for kindness in your thoughts. To the lips for kindness in your words. And then resting at heart center. For you to carry kindness, compassion, and action for the rest of your day and the rest of your week ahead. Opening the eyes. Well done. Namaste. Woo! Well done. So that was a bit of a whistle stop. Lots of different skills that I taught today. So all of that stuff you can practice to develop the strength and the kind of understanding of how to get into the poses. So we didn't do a lot of the balancing poses today. You've got all of those tutorials that you can practice, but this strengthening stuff is what's going to get you into those poses a bit easier.